my special guest today may be familiar to you if you've been a fan of the show for some time. He was a part of season 3 of The Breakthrough Show, and you also saw him in episode 1 of this season. He's a former Zen monk who's been a personal development and communication coach for over 25 years, helping folks to conquer their social anxiety and connect with others with more clarity, confidence, and impact.
Life gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice. And what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Everyone, please welcome back to the show my friend and fellow Aquarian, Allan Knight. Allan, thanks for being back on the show today.
It's my pleasure, Jessica, but I do take exception to 25 years. It was 2.5 years. I'm just kidding. No, I fooled you.
I'm like, listen, I know that sometimes I don't read very well. But
I just resented being seen as this old, you know.
That's all. Well, I brought my Aquarius mug to the table today for our conversation.
Oh, I'm an Aquarian. I'm a fellow Aquarian.
It says driven and feisty. Do you resonate with that?
I do. Although these days I'm not as driven. Because driven sounds like obsession with success, but I'm not that way.
So more feisty than driven.
Feisty. I have character. I would say.
I like that. I'll take that. I'll take that too. I'll go with that. I have character. I'm not feisty.
You're just a wonderful person. That's all you are.
Thank you so much. So, Allan, start us off today by sharing something in your life that's bringing you joy right now.
Bringing me joy, well, aside from you?
Yeah, thank you. Takes a bow.
Well, it's weird to say this because we're, as you know, living through a pandemic situation out there. Mm. I think the joy that I have is that I'm so joyful that I've been so blessed in my life that included being a monk for 9 years, that gave me the tools to learn how to remain free, happy, content, and present, irrespective of the circumstances around me. Mm. And so this is a perfect example of that this is probably the biggest challenge that I and we have faced in my entire lifetime. And the joy is I feel great. I feel sad that there's suffering out there, but I feel wonderful and appreciative and grateful that I've had the means to stay steady and keep the ship alive, living in the moment with true inner freedom. So that's what I'm joyful for.
I love it. And I think it is a great time to be joyful for that, for those of us who have really spent, like I've said before, so much time preparing for things like this. And we've done so much inner work. And it's not to say that there's still not work to be done, but gosh, it feels good to be able to say, I'm good right now, despite other things that are going on. You know,
I just had this new 2 words that came into my mind. Inner prepper. I'm a prepper. I'm not a prepper in the wilderness, but I'm an inner prepper. That's a new term that I just came up with. So I'm going to use that.
You like it? Trademark it real fast.
Okay.
You got a few weeks till this episode comes out. Go get it trademarked.
Innerprepper.com. Okay.
That's it. So we've talked about a lot of different things with you being on the show. We've talked about a little bit about your time as a Zen monk, but if you would give everybody just a little couple minute flashback of your time as a monk and how that has impacted your life.
Well, the bottom line is, my parents died at an early age, and I was in my early 20s alone. I questioned life. Like, is that all? I traveled the world and said, is that all there is? I kind of thought it's interesting, but something was missing. And when I came close to dying on the desert when I was 21 years old, that was my first life-changing experience where I went from being an atheist to someone who wanted to explore my spirituality, if there was one. And I met these people that lived like Zen monks, and their eyes were calm, clear, centered. And I said, I want that. And I decided to move into that center and live there for 9 years as a monk. Now, it's great. And then I missed women too much, so I left the monastery.
That part of your story is so fun.
Yeah. That was the beginning part. And of course, I went on to realize that it was important to maintain that Zen-like attitude in all of life, not just as a monk. And you don't have to be a monk or nun to learn it. But that was my beginning time of spirituality and personal development. And I cherish that time very much.
Mm. I love it. I think there's a lot of people who look in at a lifestyle like that and go, I don't think that I could do something like that. Was it really something that was a stretch for you? That was really a challenge?
Well, yeah, there was. For one thing, absolutely. I learned more than anything that you don't need to live like that. I did it because I also rejected part of who I was at the time, and I didn't want to take responsibility to do the things that I should have done as a regular guy in society. So when I left, I realized there was a double-edged sword. There was the positive aspect that I experienced intense meditation, concentration, achieved a certain degree of a level of success in that. I was able to get away from the world and appreciate the inner part of me. But then there was a hunger to have fun. There was a hunger to experience what normal people are experiencing. Dating and going out with women again and getting into relationships and then pursuing my career. So all of it became important. But yes, it was challenging. But you know what? The challenges, no matter what, we're never given more than we can handle. And I'm grateful for those challenges now because I'm able to live in that same state of tranquility even through this pandemic time. So I guess I'm walking the talk in reality. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's, so many people in the personal development space talk about needing a balance in our lives with things. I know that I have been a big proponent of that in my platforms as well, because I've got to know a little something about balancing stuff with as many children as I have. but I feel like sometimes, as much as we talk about balance, sometimes those moments of taking ourselves completely out of a situation or doing something really extreme for however amount of time we're talking about is necessary to sort of like kick us in the rear end or give us a reset, if you will.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a wake-up call. First of all, I'm not crazy about the word balance because it makes it feel that everyone needs to balance their time of personal and business life. There are people that are very, very immersed in their professions, in their business life, that requires a lot of time. I don't think it's about balancing the time. I think it's about prioritizing what we need to prioritize. If I take quality time every day, even if it's an hour, to get in the inner fitness gymnasium and then the physical fitness gymnasium, and I get in the zone and I stay in the zone the rest of the day, I could spend 80% of my time at work and still feel relatively balanced. So balance doesn't mean an equal balance of time.
Right.
It's taking enough quality time to put what should be priority. Am I right with the universe? Am I right with God? Am I right with myself? And if I am, then I share the benefits with the world at large. The problem that most of us have is we get up, we have our coffee, and we're running and getting on Twitter and our social media and our phones and our responsibilities with our kids and with everything else in our careers. And we lose ourselves. And then we wonder why we become victim of a lot of these circumstances around us. So I think it's quality time that starts with ourselves.
I love that. And it's something that, we hear a lot about, as I mentioned, in the personal development world about balance and that word. And what I've always taught people is balance is what it looks like for you. Your balance of, we talk about priorities may be very, very different. I know it's very different from what my balance looks like. And so I've really been encouraging people over the last several years to find the balance, that what balance looks like for you. And sometimes that takes a little bit of discovery, because with the age of social media, we really get into a space of comparison very easily, of saying, well, this is what this person's life looks like. Why doesn't mine look like that?
You and I, look, you have 5 children, right?
6.
You got sick.
Yeah.
There's no way that your balance is going to be like my
Right.
balance, who has 0 children. But that's not the issue. The issue is that if you take quality time with you, you could become more balanced and more free than me. Because if I'm preoccupied with all kinds of crazy
Right.
things as a single person with no children, then who's really mastered their life? You have, not me.
Yeah.
So this time thing is a little bit questionable for me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So I would love to talk to you about it, when you were growing up, and even as your time as a monk, anything that you've ever experienced. Did you believe in near-death experiences? Was that something that you thought was real?
Did I ever believe in what?
Did you believe in near-death experiences?
What's that mean?
Well, I'm asking what it means to you.
Well, it's not about believing. I experienced a number of situations in my life where I was near death, if that's what you mean.
Well, I think a lot of people have maybe have heard the phrase before and have had notions like that, because you talked about being an atheist. So in your life, I'm curious if you ever thought, as you were an atheist before, if that couldn't happen, like if we're just done, or what.
Oh,
what
you're talking about what happens after death.
Right.
Oh, okay. I'm strongly feel and believe in reincarnation. And I know without a shadow of doubt that I lived before. I don't need to preoccupy myself with it, but I was pretty well an atheist leading up to the time I was a monk. When I became a monk and my meditation deepened, I went from being primarily a psychological, analytical, physical being who didn't really know that anything else existed, to go to a much deeper level that I experienced my eternal self through the meditation. And so it became very, very clear to me that there was more to me than the rational mind and the physical body. Reincarnation was another thing. I don't even feel it's necessary to have a belief in reincarnation. It's like falling in love. If my friend says, prove to me that you're in love with so-and-so, I say, I don't have to prove it, I know it. In the same way, I don't have to prove in reincarnation, I know in reincarnation. And it's an intuition deep from my soul through the deepening of my meditation and my personal experiences with people. For me, it's a very real thing. And I don't need to prove it to anyone. It's just a personal feeling that I have. So for me, past lives are very real and future lives are very real. But I'm focused on living this one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell us about some near-death experiences that you've had in your life, and how that's changed you.
Totally. Near-death experience for me. One thing was being on the desert, coming close to dying. I thought I was finished, and someone saved me. So that was a wake-up call. But other experience I had in life, as you know, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 7 years ago, and then I've had some other bouts being in the hospital with an irregular heartbeat, where they had to go in and put me to sleep to get my heart to beat regularly again. And that's like a near-death experience, because you're going on the table, they're giving you this medication, and you're out for 5 minutes. You think it's a lifetime, and then you come back. And so it's like a near-death experience. But every near-death experience I've had, I've always used it to my favor. I always used it as a wake-up call that life is not to be taken granted. And especially with the Parkinson's, I said, either I'm going to become depressed and filled with anxiety. According to my neurologist, that's the way most people in Parkinson's address it. Or I'm going to deepen my spirituality. I'm going to deepen my positivity. I'm going to deepen my commitment to mastering myself. And what I've noticed is not only has it been an opportunity to grow, but along the way, I'm using it as a journey to heal my Parkinson's. 65% of my tremor has gone away through a variety of things I've done. So I'm using that as part of my journey. So it's even bringing me more freedom and more joy. That's how I turn lemon into lemonade.
I had myself muted. Do you think that that a lot of times it takes experiences like that for people to wake up to the changes that they need to make in their lives?
I think everyone's different. I think some people need a wake-up call. I have a friend who I always make fun of him. because I said either the universe is going to kick you in the ass and cause you to grow, or you're going to do it yourself. But he's a procrastinator. So in that case, sometimes like I needed wake up calls, but sometimes other situations are people going through a process, and slowly that process just causes them to wake up one day and say, you know what, I think I'm ready to make some changes in my life. So again, I'm not big on black and white rules. And I think everybody's different, but I do agree that some of us, including myself in the past, needed a more extreme wake-up call, which I think is what's happening with the virus. With the coronavirus, look at all the people who are quickly in the Zen Meditation Center as of now. They're locked down. They're in the center. They're in the Zen Meditation Center right now. How are they doing? Are they going to get more dysfunctional in their relationships and split up? Are they going to use it as a time to heal and grow and connect with people? That's up to them. But a lot of people have wake-up calls as we speak with this pandemic. I'm very confident of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing that we've talked about before of, you know, you and I have been, and you a lot longer than I, though I won't throw your age in your face. But you've been at this, like, I mean, it really has been over the last 10 years or so for me that I have really focused on the inner work with myself. And it took something for me, like my brother passing away, for me to say, oh, I'm important, you know, and so I sort of needed that wake up call too. But over the last 10 years, it's been a very gradual experience for me of, you know, working and training myself and finding the tools that work for me and finding what my balance is and all of that. And so now I feel very grounded and prepared, whereas other people, this has been their moment the last little while here of their wake up call. And it's sort of, I think it's a beautiful thing though, that we're all at these different levels, and at a time when many of people are struggling, they need us now. They need us now to say, how can we deal with this?
So true. And I think another element that I think comes into play, Jessica, I don't know what you think, is it's one thing to have a wake up call. And that's kind of in the awareness level. Mm-hmm. You become aware that something's got to change. Then the next question is, what do you do about it? And I think a lot of people go through months and sometimes years of self-discovery. They read a lot of books, they'll go to a lot of seminars, they'll listen to speakers, talks on this. And that's great because everything starts with awareness. Mm-hmm. However, unless we finally say to ourselves, the awareness is great, but what do I do to truly transform? And that's the uniqueness of what I've created with my formula that I've developed. It's more akin to getting in the inner fitness and verbal fitness gymnasium to work out the inner muscles, to work out the verbal muscles, so that you take your awareness, which you have less and less a need to get pumped up with, and more into true transformation, and then just become an example of it, walk the talk of it, as opposed to, I have some friends who still spend hours and hours with their tapes and listening, and it's great, I'm happy for them. But I think sometimes we could overdo that at the expense, and then they end up preaching to other people and spouting off a lot of nice reminders to people, and that's good. But I'd rather meet someone who's genuinely loving me unconditionally because they love themselves unconditionally. They don't need to preach to me anymore.
I think that part of the anxiety that happens with people is that a lot of times there is a period of discovery. There is a period of trying to figure out, what does this look like for me and what is going to work for me? And so when we have these moments where things happen suddenly and it propels us into this space of what is happening around me, what is happening within me, and then we think, how can we possibly learn enough to catch up with this that fast? And one of the examples of that, it's so funny to me, when things started getting a little crazy around the world and people were talking about having to have their kids home. I've had my kids home homeschooling for the last 7 years. And so there was a schedule. that was going around online that said, this is how your day can look with your children. And I just cracked up laughing because it took us 2 years of trying to figure out what worked with us to not have tears every day at home. And to like, it really took a lot of development and a lot of figuring out. And so I put out a statement and I said, listen, if you get nothing done but hug each other and love each other a little more and spend time together, that's a win. Don't hold yourself to this expectation that your life is going to be better automatically or change in an instant, because a lot of times it takes us many, many years to get to the space that we're in.
Well, I have I love what you're saying, because it gets to the core of what the Zen taught me. And one of my teachers, Ramdas, who recently died, he was a Harvard professor, and he said, the problem in our world is that we've given way too much credence to the rational mind, because the rational mind could go on and on and on. He said, what I truly learned is it's about emptying the mind to get simple. Like when I think of getting overwhelmed, thinking, how am I ever going to grow and catch up to other people? It's actually the opposite. What am I going to do to let go my negativity and my thoughts, let go the hyperactive thinking, let me as quickly as possible live in the present moment and take one step at a time each day, one step at a time, to stay present, stay joyful, and take action. And that's the simple Zen approach. And I'm a big believer. That's why I often tell people this thing about knowledge is power. Well, knowledge is power might be true if you and I want to be a medical doctor and study for 7 years. We need that knowledge. But to master our communication and mostly master ourselves is the opposite. Simplicity is power. Presence of mind is power. Patience is power. Unconditional love is power. And having knowledge adds something to the game. But it's much more important to master the simple skills of undoing some of the negativity and dysfunction that we've had in our life through the rational mind.
Yeah. I hope you guys are taking notes, because this is good stuff. This is really good stuff.
I'm even enjoying this stuff. This sounds fantastic. I'm inspiring myself.
That's always a good thing. That's always a good thing.
And you are too, my dear.
Yeah. Thank you.
Will you ever consider doing a talk show with me? Do you ever consider?
We might consider that. We might consider that when we can calm down. When we can calm down around here, that'll be a good thing.
Okay.
It'll be a good thing. So tell us, Allan, a little bit about your coaching and certified coaching program and how that can help us today.
Well, the program that I have, the nice thing about it is it's a fast track communication and self-mastery system that I've developed. So I won't go over the steps, but if you actually go through it, an individual who goes through it will achieve a very high level of inner freedom, self-mastery, mental toughness, positiveness, self-esteem, and the beginnings of truly mastering their communication skills. Did you sneeze? Do you want to get a Kleenex or a hand sanitizer?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm just bugging you. And so they not only do they fast track the ability to do a lot and accomplish a lot of that, but then they have a self-coaching system for life. Because that was my true desire, to come up with something that was not just life coaching or Allan Knight rah-rah seminar approach. I wanted something that people can master themselves without me or the need for too many other coaches. A lot of coaches won't like what I said there. The certified coaching is to leave my legacy. I would like to have as many people who would love to coach, love to train, but either don't have an existing program, or they might be a health coach and don't have this program, that it will go through my certified coaching program and then teach others to do it. And if I had hundreds, if not thousands of people around the world doing that, that could impact a lot of people. So that's one of the legacies that I would like to leave is the certified coaching program.
I love that. And I think you're right that there, with everything that has gone on in the world over the last little while, we really need to focus on that inner fitness, and it can only help us. I feel like if we're working on ourselves, yes, we want to also work on relationships, which the last time you were here at the first episode, you talked about your soulmate revolution and how important relationships are and all of that. But really, if we're not working on ourselves at all, then I mean, I just feel like our relationships aren't going to be as authentic, and if we don't even know who we are.
I like to simplify everything. It's all about, as you just said, inner fitness and social fitness. And the way I view it is, if we could accept, respect, adore, and love ourselves unconditionally, that's a true foundation for me to have great relationships one-to-one with the wonderful people around me, and then ultimately impact the world at large in a creative way. So it's me first, then one-to-one relationships, and then relationships with the world. If we can master that in that order, we could change the world.
I love it. And that is typical Aquarius, wanting to change the world, right?
Big thinkers.
Big thinkers, that's right. So you've got the Soulmate Revolution, you've got your coaching and your certified coaching program. Is there anything else that's on your plate that you want to see happen next, Allan?
Well, I would just say, related to the certified program, the nice thing about my formula, the 9-step program that I developed, it's adaptable to different target audiences. So if a coach wants to come on board and learn it and then teach entrepreneurs, they could do that. If they want to teach athletes, they can do that. If they want to get into the dating soulmate thing, they can get into that. I'm focusing myself right now on the Soulmate Revolution, because I think, given the times, the pandemic we're going through, there's going to be, for a while, more than a couple of weeks, a need for people to overcome social anxiety and social isolation. And I think it's a perfect time for the Soulmate Revolution. But certainly people that become a coach can adapt it in a creative way, in their own way.
I love that. Allan, thank you so much for being on with me today and having a conversation. It's always fun to have you on.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And I look forward to us doing a show together.
Awesome. Well, everybody, if you want to check out more about Allan Knight, his time as a Zen monk, his Soulmate Revolution, his coaching and certified coaching programs, you can visit the links in the show notes.
Or the book, Mind Gone Wild.
And the book, Mind Gone Wild. It's a great book too. So I need a signed copy of that, Allan.
Absolutely. I'll get right on it.
I'm collecting books this season. It's amazing. It's fun.
You will get one. You will get one.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com. And be sure to join our After the Breakthrough community powered by Patreon. We look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place for another inspiring episode.